Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today doing something quite different. We're taking a look at a mobile game, but that's because that mobile game is kind of special. Today we're playing Titanfall Assault. Titanfall Assault! I want to thank Respawn, Nexon, and Particle City for giving me early access to a build of this game so I could preview it for you guys. When I initially heard they were doing a real-time strategy game in the Titanfall universe for mobile, I was like, well, that could be awesome. In fact, the whole idea of a real-time strategy game in the Titanfall universe just sounds ultra badass. But when I heard it was mobile, I was like, oh, okay, that's going to be a hard one. You know, you really got to pull that off. The thing about mobile RTS games is that some of them are just incredibly complex. Some developers just port like the full version of the game over, like they did with XCOM Enemy Unknown, which can be cool if you're looking to actually sit down and play a game for that long on a mobile device. I typically like strategy games and mobile games that are like 5-minute matches. I can get into 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here. Maybe I'm just sitting waiting at the bus or on a bus ride or something. I want to play a quick match here or there, something like that. Those are the kind of games I enjoy, but they still need to have some complexity. They need to be interesting enough where I actually feel like I'm progressing, I'm getting better at the game. You know, there's some nuance to the actual strategy, especially when it comes to player versus player stuff, which is exactly what we get inside of Titanfall Assault. I think they've done a rather nice job in hitting a relatively good sweet spot. Matches last anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes. The game mode that's going to be available at launch, they do plan on working on some more in the future, but the main game mode you're going to be playing at launch is Hardpoint Assault. So there's two ways in which you can win Hardpoint Assault. You can capture and hold all of the hardpoints and get up to 100 points, or you can actually push the enemy team's base and destroy both of their turrets. Now, in my experience, you almost always win through capturing the hardpoints. Hardpoints gain score really quickly, so if you hold all 3 hardpoints, you're going to get to 100 way before you ever destroy the enemy team's turrets. It might be nice in the future to see them kind of alter that, maybe make the turrets have less health or make the hardpoints gain points less quickly, so there's more of a chance for that sort of strategy. Because right now, if somebody's like poking my base and I capture, like, you know, even 2 of the hardpoints, I'm not really that concerned. It doesn't really change things, but maybe that's just because I'm playing at a low level still. I'm not sure what the high level gameplay is like when people have crazy, you know, maxed out high level cards and, you know, really good resupply. Maybe things are getting crazy there. Now, the strategy in Titanfall Assault comes really from 2 main design decisions. Number 1 is the supply system. So you have a limited number of supply during a match. That supply is constantly regenerating, but you need that supply in order to actually deploy units to spawn Titans to use burn cards. You'll notice on screen right now that there's a little yellow number in the top left corner of each of the cards. That's how much supply those cards cost. And you can see my yellow bar, which is constantly regenning. That's my supply. So it's a matter of balancing what cards you put on the field when, while also trying to gain enough supply to get the more expensive cards. And when you build your actual card, your deck, or your squad in this case, you know, you could put down all really expensive, like level 4 unit cards for the first 3. You could put really expensive Titan cards down, but then it takes longer to deploy units, which means there's more time for the enemy to capturing and holding those hard points and actually gaining points. It's a constant balancing act. And the other side of the strategy does indeed come from the actual units themselves. Each unit has its own effective environment. Some are better at eliminating pilots, some are better at dealing with Titans and sentries, some are quicker at capturing hardpoints, some have bonuses after they capture a hardpoint, some are better at dealing with individual pilots. It's all a matter of playing constant rock, paper, scissors with your opponent. He puts paper to go capture your hardpoint, you're like, alright, I better break out the scissors over there. Or maybe he's got rock over at B and you're like, I gotta bring the paper. You know, it's this little back and forth game. That's really where the strategy comes from, and it's actually kind of deep. It's not easy to win in this when you go up against a good player. I've had a lot of matches where I just kind of steamrolled the person because they didn't know what they were doing. And then I've had some matches where I was just like, wow, this guy is just flawless with his placement. So actually looking at what the enemy player does and trying to counter that is very important. You don't necessarily always want to be the first person to deploy a unit onto the battlefield. Sometimes you want to wait and then maybe counter that unit with a unit that can do more damage. So the core gameplay is actually a lot of fun. There's going to be 4 maps in total at launch. We're going to have Training Grounds, which you guys are seeing right now, Crash Site, Angel City, and Boneyard. All are unlocked as you level up. I believe we're looking at like level 7, then level 11, and then like the final level for the final map. They also have 1 more map planned post-launch, so there's a decent amount of stuff going on here, a decent amount of variety. All in all, I think it's a really fun, just pick up and play RTS, which is really what I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be super complex, and I didn't want it to be like bone dry simplistic. I like the card system. And that's where most of the fun in the game, I think, comes from, leveling up the cards and figuring out the different combinations, building different squads, and seeing how effective they are online. So let's go ahead and take a deeper look at the squad system in this game. Again, I think this is where most of the fun factor comes from. I actually just really like looking at the different cards and seeing their effects and, you know, building out my squads and then going into a match, seeing if it does well for me, you know, seeing if I can effectively utilize them, coming back out, earning some more cards through the cash system. It's definitely, I think, where the core gameplay loop kind of lies. You know, that's where the reward system comes into play anyways. You play a match, you level up, you maybe get some more points for a cash, or maybe, you know, your daily login reward pops, you get another set of caches every 3 hours, you get some more cards, you mix and match a little bit, maybe you level that card up, you try different strategies. That's what the squad system's all about. I really like what they've done with this. Now, we've got 3 different squads that we can have locked and loaded to go at any given time. We can see a quick overview of them on the right side of the screen there. So this is my best squad. I've got Scorch thrown in the mix. I've got one of my rare cards, my Spectre Captain. I've also got Spectres for one of my burn cards, which I found to be really effective. I'm running an Arc Sentry to deal with Titans, and a Missile for a bit of quick damage. Maybe I want to clean up a Doom Titan really quickly, get him off the battlefield before he does any more damage. And I've got 3.2 average supply, so much better resupply on this class than on these other ones over here. This one's 2.9. Haven't even messed with Squad 3. I think it's at like 2.7. So as you level up, you know, level up the cards and start using better cards, mixing and matching, you'll increase your average supply. Your squad level will go up a little bit, and all in all, you'll start to be a little bit more effective, at least when it comes to base power. You still have to implement the cards and deploy them onto the battlefield effectively. You still need to know all about that sort of rock, paper, scissors strategy I was talking about. Now, Squad 1, I've got like some OG Titan stuff in here. We've got a Reserve Strider, our Atlas, and our Ogre. But again, Squad 2 is what we're going to look at today. So I've got my Scorch in here. Good old Scorch boy. The thing is, I think the team at Titanfall Assault looked at Scorch as he exists in Titanfall 2 and said we should probably be realistic about Scorch's effectiveness. So Scorch is a Titan that is very tanky. He's got reasonable hit points. He's not as good as the Ogre, but he's pretty tanky. More importantly, though, he is really effective at dealing with human infantry, not robotic infantry. So 2 of the most important numbers you're going to look at when you're learning about your cards and figuring out how you're going to use them in battle are human DPS and robotic DPS. These are very important. I would never deploy Scorch right in front of an Ogre, or worse, right in front of an Atlas Titan, which is the anti-heavy Titan in the game. That would just get him shredded. He just cannot do enough DPS. He would tank some decent damage, but he'd probably just die at the end of the day. You want to have that good trade-off, right? You want to make sure that when you deploy a unit, they do a lot of damage while taking as little damage as possible. So I'm going to use Scorch to clean up grunts. If the enemy player decides to send grunts to point A, for example, the point closest to my spawn, I'm going to drop a Scorch on them, do a little bit of damage with my Titanfall, and then hopefully he can clean up the rest of those grunts and then get back to poking people, you know, at slightly longer ranges. Now, if I did want to deal with a bunch of Titans or even turrets that the enemy had put on the battlefield, I would call in my Atlas. You can see the Atlas has outstanding robotic DPS, especially when compared to Scorch, 119.5. This is the guy you want to use to counter the other player's heavy Titans. It's very important, in my opinion, to have an Atlas on your squad right now. Considering the cards I have available to me at my current level, the Atlas has been incredibly helpful in winning battles and dealing with enemy Titans. Now, I've also got my Ogre. This is sort of just my hardcore tank guy. I usually like to drop the Ogre when I know the other player just has a lot of Titans. He's going to be able to aggro. At that point, I can start to wait for supply to build up and eventually drop in my Arc Sentry, you know, do some quick AoE damage with my Missile if I need to, and, you know, get back to building my rotation up again and getting my Atlas Titan back into the mix. Now, it's also important to recognize any sort of special abilities or inherent perks that these different cards have. My Striker, for example, which is one of my like starting roster cards, I'm going to be able to spawn this right at the start of the match, is great for dealing with other pilots. This is very much a game of patience. You don't always want to just spam all your cards at the start of a match. While it is important to capture the hard points, I've noticed the best players, the ones who have really crushed me, they wait to see what I do. They watch me send my Striker accidentally to point C by himself, and then they just counter with another Striker, or they counter with a Grenadier, you know. They're really smart about that, so you got to be careful. My Spectre, on the other hand, this rare card is really great because when he does capture a hard point, he's going to deploy a pair of additional Spectres for backup. So, you know, giving him a little bit of a force multiplier once you capture the hard point. This is a card that would be better sent to the other side of the map. So maybe I want to go ahead and put pressure on hard point C and make sure that the enemy, you know, can't really capture that immediately. The Spectre Captain is probably a good card for that. So again, really just looking at your deck and, you know, mixing and matching and seeing what works best for you. Maybe I want to swap out Scorch. I say, you know what, Scorch, you're just not doing it for me, man. You're not really effective enough. I'd much rather put a Reserve Strider up there. I'll get a less costly Titan on the battlefield more often. While this Titan doesn't necessarily do the best human DPS, it does pretty good. 55.1. You know, Scorch is sitting up there at 72.8. So I've got a Titan that costs half as much as Scorch, that is pretty mobile, that still does reasonable human DPS. So not a bad way to swap my rotation around. And you can get a quick look at some of the other cards that you're going to be able to unlock. Moving all the way up to level 15, Core Ogre, Core Scorch, Core Ion, Titans that actually use their core ability. We've got Arc Ronins, we've got a Smoke Strider, which is one of the rare cards. Looking at our burn cards, we're going to have Mines, there's Reaper Brawlers, we got Barrages, Supply Depots, Nukes, and Blast Depots. A lot of cool stuff, man. I'm actually looking forward to playing a little bit more of this and unlocking some of these cards. You can see the other pilots as well that we can get in here. Ghost, Sniper, we got a Sim Ninja. Oh, man, there's some pretty neat stuff in here. I think they did a pretty cool job in embracing the tech of the Titanfall universe and throwing it into the game. You can see the Boomer with the Archer rocket there, which is pretty snazzy. We got a Pyro Bruiser even, man. I want some of these classes in Titanfall 2. Can we get a flamethrower for pilots in Titanfall 2? Hook me up with that, Respawn. That'd be dope, man. And moving on, we've got a pretty feature-rich set of social tools. So you've got an entire guild experience. You can invite friends to a guild. That guild can then earn experience, which unlocks you more guild objectives. Completing guild objectives will give you access to rewards like burn cards and caches. You've got dailies that you'll be able to complete every single day that give you additional rewards. You even have achievements that give you actual premium currency. Outside of that, you can also share a bunch of stuff with your guild. You can send them individual challenges and 1v1 them. You can share replays and then watch those replays. The replay system is actually pretty robust. It saves a lot of your replays. I'm not entirely sure how many it will save before it starts to delete them, but they're pretty much all here, at least most of the matches that I've played, it seems. You can look back and pause and fast forward and slow things down. You can ask yourself, hey, Tony Mo, why the hell did I lose 3-100 to that guy noob player? Gee, I don't know. He was pretty good. Let me just leave it at that. You can also go ahead and record everything you do in the game. So there's a record system that allows you to record your screen. You can save that to the camera roll. You can also broadcast to live streaming apps like Twitch and YouTube. And then there's a full ranking system. This is pretty neat, actually. So we've got individual player ranks. You can see their level, the division, the number of trophies. You can also see the guild that they belong to. A lot of people repping that Weyland-Yutani. You gotta love that, especially Hiro Yui. Repping Weyland-Yutani, man. Jeez, who knew? Who knew that he was a member of that? And you've also got your divisions. So I'm currently in silver. You can push your way up to gold, platinum, all the way up to legend, and you'll earn more rewards at the end of each season, the higher your division. So pretty fleshed out little system. I think they did a pretty good job with all the social features in the game. I'm actually shocked to see such a robust recording mechanic. When they first told me about that, I was like, here I am, like, using my fancy, you know, USB recording plug thing, and they're like, hey, just do it in game. I'm like, well, that's pretty freaking cool. Well done on that one. Well done on that one. Now, the game is free to play, and that is definitely something we need to talk about. Our in-game currency is credits, and then our premium currency are tokens. So if we go ahead and look at the market, we can see all the things that we can purchase with in-game currency, real money, and also tokens. We can purchase tokens with real money. The tokens can then be used to buy actual credits. It's a bit convoluted. Mobile games seem to like to do that for some reason. The most important thing, though, is it pay to win? And fortunately, I can tell you that no, it is not. There's one big reason for that. So if I go ahead and back out and go into my squads once again, let's just go ahead and click on my Atlas here. You'll notice that my Atlas has 2 out of 20 experience. Now, experience for individual cards is earned by opening cash. You'll basically get more cards that increases the experience you have. And when you have enough experience, you can level up that card using credits. There is one more limiting factor in place, though, and that is player level. And you notice right there, I cannot increase this card any further because I need to increase my player level. You can only increase player level by actually playing battles. You actually have to play the game. You can't just come in, spend $20, buy, you know, 1,000 credits and level up all your cards infinitely. You constantly have to be playing in order to actually progress your cards further and further. So that's great. You know, you'll be matched up against people at the same level, the same rank as you. You don't have to worry about one guy just coming in and instantly being super powerful, having all the best cards. The game just doesn't really work that way, so I think they did a pretty good job with that. They're also pretty generous on how you earn those premium currency. You get ones, again, for completing achievements. You'll get premium tokens every time you complete a different tier of an achievement. And then your login rewards, which happen like every 3 hours, give you 3 caches that always contain both regular credits, in-game currency, as well as premium currency. So I think they did a pretty good job. We can also come to the store and buy some cards with in-game currency, grunts. We've got some Arcfall there for uncommon. Then we have a rare card. I think this updates like every 24 hours. So you can come in here, spend 2,000 credits if you wanted. That's where you could probably spend most of your real world money if you want to keep buying tokens to buy more credits so you can keep buying the rare cards every day, you could go ahead and do that. They obviously need to have some incentive for people to spend cash on the game since it is free to play. I think this is an alright system. I don't like the fact that you have to buy tokens and then use those to buy credits. It seems just a bit unnecessary. Mobile games and games with microtransactions are usually obsessed for some reason with like separating currency types, so that's probably why they did that. But all in all, pretty impressed with Titanfall Assault, guys. I didn't, when I first started playing it, I was like, oh, how's this gonna pan out, man? Like, you know, it felt really simple. That the tutorial when you go through practice is just like a pushover, and then you start playing online and you actually start to see the little nuances in the strategy, and you know how you have to really preserve your supply and using the right cards to counter the right enemy types. And you see all the available cards you'll eventually have, and you see where the strategy starts to get a little bit more complex while still keeping those 3 to 4 minute long matches. I think they did a pretty killer job with the game all in all, and I'm honestly quite impressed. Considering it's going to be free to play when the game finally launches, I really do recommend you guys check it out. If you like strategy games, if you're interested in playing anything on mobile, and you like Titanfall, it's definitely worth at least giving it a go. Now, once again, the full release is going to have 4 maps. We're going to be looking at Crash Site, Training Grounds, Angel City, and Boneyard. You'll unlock those as you progress through the different levels. So you start off with Training Grounds, I think, then you unlock Crash Site, then Angel City, and then Boneyard. All in that order. Hardpoint Assault, the mode we talked about at the beginning of the game, that's the only mode that's going to be available at launch, but they do have plans for another mode as well as another map post-launch. So they're already looking on future content for the game, which I think is pretty kick-ass. It's not the prettiest game. It's a mobile game. They didn't want to like kill your cell phone and make it unplayable on older devices. They captured the essence of Titanfall. It's a little bit cartoony, but I do think despite that, it's kind of fun to see the pilots like jumping across the little rooftops on the maps, and I've had fun with it. I guess that's the best way to put it. Is the game fun? Yes. Is it free? Yes. You should definitely at least check it out and see if it's something that happens to be your cup of tea. Other than that, feel free to throw any questions, any concerns for me down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.